I didn't even know that this place existed. I winged it. To be honest, yeah. I kind of looked online. There's really not a ton. Do not be afraid to change the plan. This is a very active trip. And also, I'm going to add this in. If you are there, you kind of have to rent a car. Do not stop at the places that are like on the main drag and all the restaurants on there. They weren't good. All of the rock formations are from the volcanic ash and everything built up, but they're huge. You can see everything in one day. Do a Jeep tour. That was the best part. Yes. I was like, well, we're going to island hop, so why aren't we hopping? For all the listeners that are wanting to plan a trip here, this is what you need to not do.
Welcome back to the How Was Your Trip podcast, where we unravel the world one interview at a time. Today's episode is with one of my friends from Semester at Sea, Josey Swanson. She went to Portugal last year and hopped over to the Azores Islands for a week as well. And we dive into all the details of logistics on how to go, where to go, when to go, what to see, what to do. So you're not going to want to miss out on this episode. Definitely grab your pen and paper if you're planning on going to Portugal or the Azores Islands. And let's get into this episode. Well, Josey, welcome to the How Was Your Trip podcast. So this is going well.
I can't take myself that seriously. Okay, 1 second.
Josey, welcome to the How Was Your Trip podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to have you on. I know you went to Portugal last summer, and I just want to dive into all things Portugal. It's somewhere that I really want to go, and I haven't got to go yet. So really excited to hear about your trip.
Yes, for sure. It was the best.
So let's start from the beginning. Where exactly in Portugal did you go, and why did you go there specifically?
So in Portugal, we flew into Lisbon. We stayed there for 2 nights and 3 days. And then we ended up going to the Azores right away. And then we came back to Lisbon, and then that's when we kind of traveled up the western side. So like to Porto, and we didn't go down to Lagos, but I really would want to go there next time.
Yeah.
But we ended up going there, and then Penuche and Porto Covo were the places that we ended up. And Nazare. We went there too.
So what made you want to go to Portugal?
Well, what made us want to go was the beaches of the surf, for sure. Mm-hmm. And because I just have seen pictures and videos of the beaches there, and it looks absolutely amazing, and they were amazing. And I think it's just more of, for my mom, we went with my mom and brother too, and my mom had always wanted to go to the Azores. And I think the idea of going somewhere that hasn't really been tapped into, it's not super touristy there, and they've only actually been open for tourism for 7 years. Wow. So it hasn't been open that long. And I think the idea of getting there before everything kind of got commercialized and built up was, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. But yeah, I love the idea of that. And then Portugal is not really like a super popular spot either, going to Madrid or going to, Italy, and that I feel like it's a little bit more off the beaten path. Right. For like a first choice international trip.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about it, I remember you saying like it felt like the island was just very untouched from tourism. Yep. Which it's like you want to see it first. Yeah. You don't want to add to the tourism problem, but you want to help with the tourism build financial side.
Yeah, right. Right. For sure. That's and awesome. I think it's definitely going to get more popular. I think because it's only a 5-hour flight from New York. Wow. So, which is like the same as Hawaii from LA.
Wait, that's wild.
Yeah. So I am pretty certain that within like 10 years, it's going to be like the new Hawaii.
So, but you have to still fly into Portugal first.
You do not.
You can fly straight to the island?
Because they're its own country. They're independent country. Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like Puerto Rico for the United States. That is so cool. Yeah. I didn't realize that you could go straight there.
Yep. It's not really like Madeira or Mallorca off of Spain. It's kind of different vibes than that.
That's cool. But you flew into Lisbon and then you flew there. Yes. And then flew back to mainland.
Yep, because it is cheap. Well, is it? I don't know. I feel like we wanted to get to Portugal and like settle in before you because the Azores is definitely not, they don't have like resort. It's I mean, they have a couple of nice hotels, but it's definitely not like even Portugal and like Europe seems a lot more, okay, we're like mentally prepared, like easing our way into like an adventurous trip. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Okay, well, let's talk about Lisbon first, and then
Sure.
I want to get back to the island. So, what did you do in Lisbon?
We didn't really know what to do the first day. And so we did like a city tour. My mom loves history and loves architecture. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. And it was like a bus tour. Kyle definitely fell asleep the entire time.
I was about to say, that doesn't seem like yours and
No,
Kyle's vibe.
nope. I can kind of muster up the love for it, but
Yeah.
Kyle, yeah, not so much. But we ended up going to this, I can't remember the name, and I could not find the name of any of these things when we were looking, but
Right.
we ended up going to this little, you can't add pictures on here, can you?
I can add a picture. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll send you a picture after this.
Yeah, okay,
because
yeah, I can throw it
because
up.
the picture is like, it's stunning. And we had like, so Portugal, especially Lisbon area, is best known for their sangria. It's like the thing that they love there is the
okay.
sangria. So we had tons of sangria, and we were sitting on this little patio, and all the roofs are orange and all the buildings are white. And then just like the orange roof with the blue contrast of the ocean was like blowing my
Insane,
mind.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And there was just flowers growing up this like arborvitae thing here. And oh my gosh, it was just like one of those moments that I'm never going to forget. It was too picturesque that it'll never leave my mind ever in my life. So
That's awesome.
so we kind of just bummed around there, and I looked up on TikTok and, I think mainly on TikTok, which is, I guess, a good research
Hey,
place.
it's a resource, yeah.
Exactly.
It's a very
Hopefully we don't
real-time
have to.
resource.
Hopefully it's not going to rest in peace here soon. But
Right.
so I kind of looked on there, and there was some food, like more local food places.
Yeah.
Do not stop at the places that are like on the main drag, and all the restaurants on there. They weren't good. They were, I think they were there because they were easy, because that's what people kind of thought. But I'm glad that we took the time out to find food places that were a little more local and just had really good food rather than just
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
food. We're here, and they're less expensive too if you're off of the main like road there. So I don't know. It was a really beautiful city. It was super homey. It kind of had like Paris vibes, but mixed with coastal. Yeah. So
Did you feel like it had Spanish? Like, I haven't been to Portugal yet.
Yes,
Did
it
it have a
feels-
lot of Spanish
Yeah.
feel? Okay.
my mom almost said that it felt like Paris and Spanish combined.
Interesting.
It was super interesting. Yeah. It was very unique.
Okay, and for the listeners that don't know, Josey, she and her sweet husband went on semester at sea with me, and they don't really plan, but it
No.
sounds like at all, like life trips.
No,
like
nothing's
they.
planned. Nope.
But I do feel like it sounds like this trip was planned. Some was that you, or was that your mom?
So my mom is a planner.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't like to do the planning, and it's very taxing for her to do travel planning. So I kind of had to, because I didn't want her to be, an anxious mess the entire time. Because, Kyle and I are like, oh, I just found this place, like, let's hop there. And she's
Right.
like, I just don't know. So I went into it with a vague idea of what I wanted to do and what
Yeah.
we should do every day.
Also, it sounds like she might have different travel preferences than you too.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like if you're traveling with people that are different than you kind of almost want to pre-plan so that you can make
Yes.
sure that like you're getting some of your vibe too.
Yep, for
in the
sure.
trip.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So then from Lisbon, that's when you went to Azores.
Yep.
Okay.
Then we went straight to
And
the Azores from there.
How, like, because it's not overly populated with tourism, like, how did you plan that part? Like travel, accommodations, things to do.
I winged it. To be honest, yeah. I knew, like, I kind of looked online. There's really not a ton. But actually, so one of my favorite influencers that I have literally followed since I first got Instagram, she was like a travel blogger, whatever. She ended up going to the Azores like in 2017 or something. And I stalked her page to see what she was doing. And I was like, oh, well, let's go here, let's go there. So that kind of helped too. So then I kind of got a rough idea. And the islands are so teeny tiny. You can drive around the whole island in a couple hours.
Oh, wow.
They're so small. So, and they don't have like a ton to do. So the options weren't like, how are we ever going to narrow this down? it was like, okay, these are the attractions, and this is what we're gonna do.
Also, like sometimes the plan can be to not plan, and the plan can be to explore. Like I remember when Worm and I went to, like we were in Croatia and we went up to Bosnia for a day, and it was like, okay, well we like have kind of an idea of our route that we're gonna take, but like our plan really was just to like figure it out as we drove. Like if we see a cool place, like let's just stop. I think that that's like a really great way to go about a place that there's not a lot of information online.
For sure.
And then I truly think that like social media has just become such an outlet of me for travel, like figuring out like travel blogs are great. Yelp, TripAdvisor, they're helpful in a certain sense, but like people that are our age and our demographic are really using social media. And I'm basic. I'm probably going to like the thing that the girl that like looks like me, talks like me is
exactly
at my age. Like I'm going to enjoy that.
Yep. I'm going to take their word for it.
Right. And how many days did you spend on the island?
So here is where, for all the listeners that are wanting to plan a trip here, this is what you need to not do. We spent too many days. We went for, I think the Azores were, I think we were there for 6 days, and then we left on the 7th. And we stayed on São Miguel, the main one, too long.
Wait, okay. Azores is multiple islands?
Yep, 9 islands.
9 islands.
Yeah, so the Azores are 9 islands. The main one is São Miguel, and that's where the main airport is. And that's kind of where everything, that's the main, like, that's like Oahu of Hawaii. And so we stayed there for probably the first 4 days. And then we ended up going to, I think it's pronounced Fail Island, and we took a ferry there and then stayed overnight there. And that was a really beautiful location, and it was super refreshing because by day 4 on São Miguel, we were honestly kind of bored. And we were kind of like, oh crap, we should have just gotten out of here and gone, but we didn't really know. So this is kind of where my mom was a little more leery to do a lot of do, like let's fly here, let's leave here. And I was like, well, we're going to island hop, so why aren't we hopping?
Right.
And
let's go to all 9.
Exactly. But I kind of like knew where she was coming from with the anxiety there. But looking back, we both are like, okay, definitely tell anybody you got to hop, because you can literally see São Miguel in 2 days and do everything that it has to offer. So kind of a lot of the trip, we ended up just walking around our neighborhood and finding local joints, and we have so many fun memories from that too. Just us trying to figure stuff out. And we ended up playing paddleball, which is not pickleball, not regular paddleball. It's like, it's Azores' own sport on the beach. It was like, we found this private little beach and it had this huge net. We're like, oh, let's play volleyball. And they ended up coming and playing paddleball, and they had extra paddles. And, you know, my husband is obsessed with games. So he was eating that up. And it was just stuff like that is when you don't have plans. Beautiful memories like that come from it.
Absolutely.
And I just love that. But so then after the Fail Island, we ended up going back to Pico Island for just a day. And then we ended up ferrying back to São Miguel. And then we're there and then flew out that night.
Okay, so if you were going to do it all over again for the first time, or tell someone else, how long would you spend on San Miguel? How long would you spend on Fail? And how long would you spend on Pico?
If I were to fly into San Miguel today, I would stay there I'd spend there tomorrow. So I'd say two or maybe 3 nights if you don't want to do so much back to back. I would say 2 nights San Miguel. You can see everything in one day. Do a Jeep tour. That was the best part. Yes. That was the best part of that entire trip. It was so much fun. And our tour guide was great, so I think we got kind of lucky with that. But you have to do a Jeep tour, and then you have to see they're called the Furnas, and there's tons of hot springs on this island because they're volcanic islands. So that's basically the main point of them is all the volcanoes. And so there's like tons of volcanoes with like the huge lakes that form after they erupt or whatever. The calderas, they're called. And you could definitely see that and do the Jeep tour in 2 days. And then I would go to Fail Island for 1 day, and you could stay a night there. They have some little boutique Airbnbs there that we stayed in one that was really cute, but not in the location that I would prefer. It was a little more too a local? Where I was like, But, and then I would go to Pico for a day, which I'm glad we only did a day there because that one is like very uninhabited, kind of. I mean, there's people that live there, obviously, but it wasn't anything that I'm like, ooh, it's cozy. Let's stay here for the night. And then I would also add in, okay, so the islands that I did not go to, but wish that we would have gone to, were Terceira Island and Sao Jorge Island.
And would you rather go to those over the ones you went to, or like?
I would say do these 5 islands.
Okay.
Yep.
Like take less time on San Miguel and fit in the other islands
Yes.
too.
Yep.
What made you decide on the 3 that you went to?
So my mom actually had a friend that was planning on going there later in the year, and she is a travel agent, and she wanted to go there, and she said, I have no idea about these islands. The only thing that I know is that I was told that these 3 would be the top 3 if you don't want to do a ton of them. So that's why.
What allures you to the 2 that you didn't go to?
So when we were there, the Jeep tour guy actually said that Terceira Island has this huge volcanic cave, and it's like known as the Cave of Christmas or something like that. And it's just like underground, and it looks super adventurous to go down there. And he said that all of them are like cousins, all the islands. They're not even like siblings. They're a little different from each other, but they're still related.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of similar to Hawaii too, because I feel like each of the islands are like not really siblings either. They're all kind of very unique in their, yeah. And Sao Jorge, I wanted to go there because it's like huge coffee plantation. They export coffee to like everywhere. So I thought that would be kind of cool to do like a coffee plantation tour and just indulge.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Also, you reminded me of a pro tip that I've never mentioned on my podcast that I think people don't think about because it's almost like too late for planning. But if you have allowed margin in your schedule, I think talking to not just locals, but guides, like, okay, if you think a Jeep tour is cool, then the guy that is spending his life doing Jeep tours is probably similar to you in some way, especially after being an activity guide myself. I feel like I get it of like, no, you're a cool guy. Like if I'm into that kind of thing, then you're probably into things that I'm into.
Yep.
And so I really trust their opinion on like local, like spots to hang out or eat or do or whatever. I think that that's a really good travel tip to take away.
Totally.
Is there anything you want to say about Azores specifically before we move on that you haven't said?
Okay, so the Mosteiros are on, I don't remember what side of the island that they're on, but it was on the Jeep tour that we went, and I can plug a picture of this in too because it was stunning. It was like the ocean break, and all of the rock formations are from the volcanic ash and everything built up, but they're huge, like literally massive and black. And so like, and their waves are just crashing in on them, and the sand there, the beaches have black sand beaches.
So cool.
I totally forgot about that. That's literally one of the best parts of the entire trip because it was so cool.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And if you're a surfer, you can also surf in Azores too.
Did you surf?
Not there.
But back in Portugal you did?
Yeah, one day we did.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, where did you stay on these islands? Like, how did you decide where to stay?
I forgot about that part too. So we decided to stay. So Ponta Delgada is like the capital of San Miguel. And so we ended up finding, there are like tons of Airbnbs. And so we found an Airbnb there, which we loved the Airbnb, but the location was a little confusing. And also, I'm going to add this in. If you're there, you kind of have to rent a car because they don't have Uber. And they really don't have taxis. So you kind of have to rent a car. And my mom wanted to drive. I wish one of the boys did, but, you know, that's okay. Oh, that's why. Because you can only drive stick shift. They don't have manual, or they only have manual. They don't have any automatic engine.
I have rented cars in Europe before, and that's been a big thing of like, some of them only have stick shift, and then some of them, they have automatic, but it's like 4 times the price to rent an automatic car.
Yeah.
Oh, so was she
she's the only one that knew how to drive the stick shift. So, okay, that's why. Now I remember. And she got the roundabouts in Portugal or not Portugal. The roundabouts in Azores are the rules are slightly different than the roundabouts in America. And there were some birds thrown for sure. No. And my poor mother she's such a people pleaser. And she was so sad because she felt like she was disappointing them. And we were laughing so hard.
You're like,
but
these
yeah,
dumb Americans.
Literally, I know. So yeah, so we rented a car, but you have to make sure you read up on the roundabouts before you go.
So on the island, they speak Portuguese.
They do. Yep.
Do most people there still speak English, or did you feel like there was a language barrier?
I feel like there was a language barrier. The people that we met at the beach when we played paddleball, they spoke English.
Were they tourists, or did they live there?
They lived there.
Okay.
And they sounded like pretty. They sounded like they were, it was their second language.
Oh,
so,
got you. Yeah. Yeah.
And then our tour guide had a very thick accent, but he spoke really, really good English. So.
Okay, so from the islands.
I need to add in one more thing.
Yes.
So for the islands, if you're going to go, this is a very active trip. You're not going to be laying on the beach really tanning too much. I mean, you can, but they have they don't really have a ton of beaches that you can chill at, I guess. They're just very active beaches, I feel. And there's just so many hikes because of the volcanoes and the mountains and the water, tons of waterfalls. So I feel like you'd be spoiling the Azores by just staying on the beach.
Right, at that point.
Yeah.
Just go to Portugal.
Yep.
Or a different beach.
Yep.
Was Azores expensive?
No, it was not.
Like in general, or compared to Portugal, or both?
So Portugal is actually one of the cheapest European countries. And so a ton of people, while we were in Portugal, a ton of other Europeans were touring there, were visiting there on holiday. So a ton of them I felt like kind of a minority as an American, as a tourist. Most tourists are other Europeans because it's super cheap.
So now, leaving the islands,
yes,
you go back to Portugal.
Yep.
And where do you fly back into Lisbon before going somewhere else, or
yes,
do you fly somewhere else?
We flew into Lisbon.
Okay, and then took a car?
Yes, we took a car up to Porto Covo, which was gorgeous. And we stayed in just a regular hotel there. I didn't really get that many pictures and stuff, so I was looking back at our itinerary, and I only have pictures of the beaches there, but nothing of where we really stayed. But we really liked it there, and it was super coastal, super surf town. It was, I don't know, me and Kyle loved the vibes. It was great. But we only stayed there for one night. And then we went to...
what drew you to there then? Why did y'all stop there?
The beaches, the pictures. We looked up, on on the west side, so this coast. But we looked up the best places to stay there, and that's just kind of what we, the pictures were oh, let's go there. There was really not a ton of thinking behind it. I feel like you could, anywhere in Portugal, I feel like you could be fine.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so then after that, we ended up going to, Nazare.
Okay.
We did that for a day. And then we went to Panucci, it's called.
Okay.
And then we stayed there for half a day. So we stayed overnight in Nazare. Oh yeah, we stayed in a night in Nazare and then went to Panucci the next day. And we did not stay overnight in Panucci. And we went back to Lisbon and flew out the next day or the day after that.
So what was in Nazare and what was in Pucci?
So Nazare is very surfy, huge surf town. And huge, this is where the huge, there's a documentary on Netflix on the humongous 100-foot wave there.
Oh, cool.
That comes in the wintertime.
Wait, I feel like I've heard of this.
Yeah. That's the most popular surf place there, I would say.
So did you surf there or in Porto?
No, we surfed there in Porto because they had smaller waves. And so we just did that for a half a day, and then we were tired. And my brother tried and he wasn't loving it, and my mom was just kind of chilling. But we also went in September, so it was not super hot. So if I were to go back, I would definitely go during the summertime. But
so you'd rather go in July,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's higher tourism though. So there's
it was
minuses.
Shoulder season when we went, so it was not super busy, and it was still warm enough. But I don't think it'd be surf weather.
Yeah,
so.
And then from Nazare you went to Poochie?
Panucci. Or no,
Panichi.
Panichi. So Panichi, I didn't even know that this place existed. But it's like a tiny little colorful town.
Yeah.
It's super duper small. And there's just like a lot of colors there, which I liked. And we kind of just drove through it. We didn't really get out and do a ton there, but all of the buildings are like different colors, which was kind of different than like the regular white building with the orange roof or whatever. But yeah, that place was really pretty. Another nice beach town with really rocky coastline. It didn't have a ton of beaches. It was more like rocky coast, but it was still stunning.
Would you have done the length of your trip in like actual Portugal any differently?
Yeah, we did not have enough time. Kyle and I want to go back to Portugal 100% because we feel like we didn't have enough time there.
In general, like the whole country.
Yeah. I would 100%, like, I would literally go back to Portugal and stay in Azores and Peniche and Portugal, all up there. Or Lagos, too. We didn't get to Lagos, and I want to go there. But we did not stay as long as I would have done a 2-week trip rather than, like, a 10-day trip or whatever it was.
Because you were in Portugal total 5 days, 4 days?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 nights, and then Azores 6 nights. Oh wait, we split it. 6 days in Azores, 6 days in Portugal, but Portugal was split from front and the back. Yeah. So I would definitely do longer in Portugal for sure. I feel like I didn't get to soak it up as much as I wanted to.
Is that your only regret of the trip, or is there anything else that you're like, dang, I wish I had done that different?
I wish we would have done more island hopping in the Azores.
Right, yeah.
But like in Portugal, that would be my only regret is that we did not stay there longer in a different town rather than just like, because then we stayed in Lisbon. And I remember being in Lisbon and being like, I don't want to go back to Lisbon. I want to stay here. So I think we must have gone back to Lisbon one of those nights and just did a day trip to Peniche or something. So, yeah.
Well, do you want to play this or that?
I do.
Great. Okay, so big, main, obvious question. Portugal or Azores?
I'm going to say Portugal.
Okay, the Jeeps or like the hot springs from the volcanoes?
I would say the Jeep.
Okay. And then from the islands, San Miguel or Fail?
I guess if you had to choose, this is kind of hard. So, like, on what level? Like a deep level or just like which one
like
I thought was prettier?
Like if you could only go to one.
If I could only go to one, I'd probably do San Miguel.
Okay.
There'd be just more to do.
San Miguel or Pico? Still San Miguel.
Yeah.
For more to do.
Yep.
Okay. And then surfing or hiking?
In the Azores or Portugal?
Both.
Okay. Hiking in the Azores.
Okay.
Surfing in Portugal.
Okay. And then surfing in Portugal or the rooftop with sangria?
Ooh. That's a good one. I have to say surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so up your alley. That's so on brand.
Yep. I just like being in the sun on the beach is like my favorite thing in the entire world. So
yeah, I love that. Okay. Well, this whole episode has been so helpful and practical. And I feel like anyone who wants to go to Azores or Portugal is going to have so many great tips and advice. But is there any piece of advice that you want to leave anyone who's interested in a trip like this that you haven't already mentioned?
So on a trip like this, it could be anything. I feel like this is kind of how this is what I give to anybody that asks me for travel advice. After being somewhat, travel oriented, I would say that if you have a plan and you're like in the middle of it and you hear from a local that you have to do this or that you shouldn't do this, do not be afraid to change the plan. I would rather be out money from an Airbnb than be out an amazing experience that I'm probably never going to be able to do again.
I think that's such great advice, like being flexible and being, willing to change your plans if you feel in your gut like this is going to make the trip so much better.
Yep, agreed.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything you want to plug? Any of your socials or anything?
Well, my TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, what is it?
The handle is at Josey.swan.
All right. Well, thank you, Josey and Baby Cow, for being on this episode.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, definitely let us know by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. As always, if you have any questions or want to chat, my email is howwasyourtrippodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.